Welcome to the MMA Outsiders Podcast with Andrew Pearson and AJ Heather.
Welcome to the MMA Outsiders. This is Andrew Pearson.
AJ Harrett.
And we got a UFC 218 preview for you. I'm going to talk about a new fight that got booked that we're excited about, Ho Choi versus Jeremy Stephens. I'm going to talk about all the fights in the UFC 218 card and rate them in order of how excited we are. Talk about some Conor McGregor nonsense that happened.
Yeah.
So, but first, AJ, how have you been this week?
I've been all right. Just got over being sick. Had a few weird dreams. Told you about one of them, sparring Paulie Malignaggi.
You told me about that. That was a weird dream. Oddly,
terrifying.
realistic.
What's the realistic part?
That he didn't knock you out, but he beat you up, but you got some shots in.
Dude, I was terrified. Like I just remember in my dream. Have you ever seen him fight?
No.
Okay, so like even though he
haven't.
doesn't knock people out, like he's still like a good boxer. You know what I mean? And like he's really just fast, right? So I remember watching. I think I was watching him fight Amir Khan or something, and just watching his hand speed. And I just remember my dream. I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get knocked the fuck out." So I think in reality, like if that was a real fight, I would definitely get knocked out. I think even though he doesn't knock other people out, I'm not a professional boxer. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Jesus.
Yeah. I guess like I overrate your ability to take damage.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that with that at all. I mean, if it was, I don't know. Like my next, you know what I mean? But I definitely feel like he would knock me the fuck out. Absolutely. Like he's just. I just remember being terrified in my dream.
This is why we shouldn't talk shit about professional fighters on our podcast.
Right.
Like even though like 80 people listen to it, I remember I had a dream a few weeks ago that a similar thing happened with Cody Garbrandt, and I didn't even say anything like insulting about Cody Garbrandt. It was he what did he see? Oh, he saw that I had written that he wasn't the best trash talker in the world, which he's not.
Well, yeah.
He was like, he was super angry, and I just about shit my pants. And then I tried to fight him, right?
God.
I couldn't talk him down. I tried to fight him,
God.
like nothing, like you know, in a dream where like everything you do just is ineffectual.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that, like where I would throw punches at him, and he just looked at me. Just looked at me like, what?
Dude,
what
I've
was
had
that?
those dreams, and you wear yourself out, and you're just like, shit. Like I had this one dream where I was fighting this guy, and my lead left hook is probably my hardest punch besides my straight right, but my lead left hook's really hard punch. So I had a dream where I was fighting this guy, and I was just throwing haymaker lead left hook. And he just would get hit and just look at me, and I just keep throwing it, and his face was busted up, but he just kept coming forward. I just remember in a dream just like, oh, fuck. And then you start doubting, like, your ability to, like, hit hard, and then you just, yeah.
Have you ever had that happen in, like, a real
sparring
fight?
session? No.
I have. So when I first started, when I was training for my first MMA fight, right? Because they were officially bringing me onto the fight team, you know, like I had taken classes at this place, and it was a former WC fighter, it was a former UFC fighter that headed up the gym, and so they made me go through this, like push a sled 5 times, do 100 push-ups, 30 pull-ups, and like a bunch of crunches or sit-ups or something like that in like 10 minutes.
Right.
And they wouldn't tell you what time you were at. So you had to like trust, like, okay, I'm going to make it done in this set amount of time. So I was doing it. I was kind of pacing myself because I knew afterwards I would have to spar.
Right.
And afterwards, like, they introduced me to a student I'd never seen before, never saw him afterwards, but he had like about 60 pounds on me, and he was an advanced student. And we strapped up it was I was gonna do 2 rounds of sparring, and I was like grappling first or striking first. I was like, let's do striking first. We strapped up and got in there, and I quickly realized that like he was really coming for me, which is I think what they told him to do. So, I was like, okay, so I hit him, you know what I mean? Like, and like I quickly realized like I'm not gonna knock him out. I'm not gonna knock him out especially with like the bigger gloves we had. I'm like, man, this sucks, because he just threw like heavy body kicks. Ooh. And I'm like, oh shit, they hurt. You know what I mean? Like when you're sparring, you're kind of like throwing body kicks, but you're not necessarily like really putting all the power into them.
Right.
This was like full power, and again, he had like 60 pounds on me. He was a heavyweight. I mean, he's walking around as a heavyweight. So I was like, yeah, man, that was a long. It was a 5-minute session, I do believe. It was like a 5-minute sparring.
Ridiculous. That's way too.
Yeah, it felt long as shit. It felt forever. I mean, like, you know, about 30 seconds in, I realized like, oh man, this isn't good. Like he's A, I'm tired, and B, he's like really coming for me. Yeah, man, it was basically like all I could do to survive. Like he had me at some points like up against the cage, just like throwing big punches at me. Like even when I clinched with him, he could still get enough leverage to like hurt me with his punches. Right. I was like, oh man, this is terrible. Busted up my lip and all this shit. I mean, like I kept hitting him. Yeah. But it was like this kind of thing where like the more energy you spend, the worse it gets for you. You know what I mean? Right. So so I understand what it feels like to get broken in a fight. That's why when fight night came, I was like, there is no fucking way I'm losing. I'm not like I already went through. I already went through getting like beaten up for this fight. Right. I'm fucking winning this shit. And I mean, I did, but
I've been knocked out. I've been knocked down and knocked out, but I've never been. I usually, unless I gas or whatever, but even then, like if I'm gassing, I just clinch. I just clinch. I've been knocked down though before, and that sucks. That doesn't feel too good. Knocked out and stuff. So, but yeah.
So I've never been knocked out, but I have been like kind of broken, where you just in there to survive. You're not in there to win. You just want to get through the next 5 minutes.
Right.
Like,
you ever think about like some of the training that you had like 10 plus years ago? How I remember when I was in high school. It was about 10 years ago. Yeah, and I was at this gym, and I just remember the mentality was weird. Like I remember being. Like our warm up, we'd run up. Okay, well, first of all, I'd get there. Okay, I get to the gym at about 4:30 because I'd get right out of school to get to the gym about 4:30. Yeah. I would be home about 10 o'clock. That's how long I was there.
What? Why?
Yeah, dude.
What were you doing at that time?
So I would get there. It was my dad, dude. My dad was like, "Well, let's go," and so he would be there with me. And so I'd get there, and I would do the beginning. There was like I did like 3 or 4 classes. Like I don't know what the fuck I was doing. So I would get there, and I would do with like the conditioning stuff that they would do with other people, and then I would stay there till like the team meets up, right? And I'm already like warmed up and stuff. And then when the team would show up, our warm up was we'd run a mile for our warm up, which was whatever. We'd run stairs, run hills. And then we'd get into like the strength and conditioning. We'd do circuits with like really light weights and tires and all this shit. And then we would do go inside and do like other fucking like ground drill. Dude, I was like, what the fuck? Is this like fucking like boot camp, dude? I was just like, when are we going to get to like fighting? Like we're just doing conditioning. And, I mean, I'm talking like an hour and a half of that stuff. And then we would get like towards the end of the night, start getting into like sparring and stuff like that. And I just sitting there thinking about how like much overtraining was done, like back, like the old school mentality.
That is definitely old school mentality. Like, and it is overtraining, because think about that. Like by the time you get to sparring and you're already dead tired, it's gonna influence how you spar. Like there is a time and a place to do that. Like spar when you're dead tired.
Yeah, but we weren't training for a fight. It was just class, dude. That was his class.
Right, and what I'm saying is like when you're dead tired, you're gonna plant your feet. You're just gonna stand there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're going to. It's gonna influence basically. Yeah, it's gonna influence how you spar. You're not gonna try to cover a lot of distance quickly. You know.
Right.
I mean, if that's how they were training back in the day, I wasn't training 10 years ago, but if that was like commonplace back in the day, it kind of explains a lot of like older footage, like how those guys approached, like stand up and striking and stuff like that.
It was a lot of brute, like toughness. I think a lot of dudes were real tough, not really real smart. They were just. It was an ego thing, I'm sure, but I mean, I think it stems from like old school mentality in general. If you look at old boxing training, how much conditioning some of those dudes did, like the amount of running, long distance running they would do, the amount of push-ups certain boxers do still to this day, the amount of jump roping and stuff. I mean, a lot of those repetitious movements aren't necessarily the best thing for your joints and for your body. You end up doing like overuse injuries. You having overuse injuries. You know, knee problems with jumping rope, tendonitis from doing too many push-ups every day, plantar fasciitis. You name it. Shin splints from running so much. It just comes down to like how many injuries did people actually have and how much of it was just sheer toughness, you know. But anyways, fuck that shit.
We're gonna get a chance to talk about sheer toughness, especially when we get to Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. But let's dive into this UFC 218 fight card. I want to start out with an exercise. I'm gonna run through this fight card. I'm gonna start with the prelim card. I'm gonna start with the Fox Sports 1 portion of the prelim card. Because that's where you start seeing recognizable names. I'm going to work my way up through it to the top. And you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how excited you are and who you're picking.
All right.
All right, so on the prelim card, Felice Herrig versus Courtney Casey.
I'll go with my girl Felice Herrig.
And how excited are you for that fight? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being I don't give a shit, and 10 being like this is the best fight that could be made. Say a 3? Okay.
3. Hey, real quick. Angela Magana is fighting on the UFC Fight Pass.
Oh, my goodness.
I want her to get knocked the fuck out.
She's lost her past 4 fights. I'm not really sure how she's doing in the UFC, but
she got kicked out of Brandon Vera's gym for that cyborg shit.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So...
yeah.
I mean, in an age where fighters are whipping boomerangs at each other on the street, this might not seem egregious, but yeah, she got in Cyborg space, and Cyborg
punched her.
Clean across the jaw. I think broke her tooth.
Well, from what Brandon Vera said, she's just not really like the best person at the gym. Kind of just high school shit, from what I understand. But yeah.
So
anywho.
Okay. So how about this fight? David Tamor versus Jacare Closa.
Not too familiar with them. Jacare Closa is from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So I'm assuming he's a wrestler. Yeah, I'm assuming he's a wrestler.
Yeah. So Jacare Closa beat his last fight out. He beat a very highly hyped prospect. What's that guy's name? Trains at American Top Team. Actually works with the guy we talked to, Mr. Mental Muscle, Mark I can't pronounce his last name. Diakase?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he beat Mark Diakase in his last fight. So he's a very highly hyped prospect. Jacare Closa is also, I believe he's undefeated.
So I would go with him. I'm not really familiar with David Tamor as well. I'm just going to shoot in the dark.
David Tamor's really good, too. David Tamor has 1 loss on his record by decision, but that was his very first fight. He beat Lando Venata in his last fight.
He's a kickboxer.
And he's a kickboxer. He comes from a Muay Thai background. He's like a Muay Thai IMFA champion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
these are both like.
I'll just shoot in the dark real quick and just say unanimous draw, and it's about a 2.
All right. This one for me, I think this is a dark horse. Like, it could be a really great fight because these are two really talented young lightweights. I'm gonna say this is like a 5. It's heating up for me. Alex Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros.
Cowboy number 2.
That's right.
I'll say I'm excited about a 4, and I'll go with.
All right, about a 4, and you're gonna go with Cowboy Oliveira.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Man, I don't know who to pick in this one.
From
Honestly,
Hawaii, right?
He's from where?
Hawaii.
Yeah. Yancy Medeiros?
Let me just, okay, have you seen this stuff like on YouTube? Not YouTube, but Facebook. Just a side note, real quick side note. Like, there's street fights in Hawaii and more of the Samoan areas. Have you seen those? Like, they know how to, like, it's like they instinctively know how to kickbox. Have you noticed that? It's really weird. Like, watching these street fights, they're actually, like, educated at fighting. It's really strange. Like, every Samoan person or has some kind of Polynesian descendant.
Dude, but that's how it is. Like, if you watch Russian street fights,
right?
Like, they have this like elite sense of timing. Like, I watched a guy like try to throw a Superman punch, and then the guy just like leaned back right out the way and knocked him out with a counter.
It's crazy.
It's really intimidating. Frankly, it's one of just the reason I don't get into street fights.
I don't get into street fights because it's kind of ridiculous.
I mean, I like fighting, but I don't want to do it on concrete.
I just think it's ridiculous to get in a street fight in general. It's just silly.
Yeah, it's pretty silly, but yeah, what are you gonna do, man? I guess if you're a kid and you got a lot of testosterone to burn and like not really much else going on,
Right, exactly.
But I'm not gonna make a pick in these prelim cards because like I haven't watched tape on them. Like, I think that like when you claim to be knowledgeable about something, but like then you start making predictions on things that you don't really know that much about.
Mm-hmm.
Nick talked about that. Nick Davenport talked about that last week after the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I try to stay to topics that I know about. Like I don't, because he's like, I have invested a lot of time into like building up knowledge. Like I'm a professional, but if I just talk out the side of my mouth on stuff that I don't know, people are gonna think I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't. I'm just speculating. Yeah. And there's a lot of that happens in the world. That's how you get people like that so-called self-defense expert.
Yeah.
Trying to tell people to get out of a rear naked choke. Did you see that?
I've seen that. Yeah, I saw that. That was ridiculous. That
reminded
me of another one.
Ever.
Huh?
It was the worst advice ever. It's downright irresponsible.
It was pretty bad, but I saw one that was even worse than that. It was some trainer. He was like this big steroided out dude showing females how to get out of a similar situation, and it was like, it was so ridiculous because it was basically, you're in a rear naked choke, right? You have to break the hold and then loop your body around them while your neck is still there. Like, your neck's still there. And get behind the person and then somehow free your neck, and then that was it. It was just so many steps that I'm like, come on, man. Nobody's going to do any... These people posting this shit on YouTube. Well, then this other person did a re-upload of that video, and they tried it. And the guy was like, all right, I'm going to have this guy that I outweigh by about 40 pounds put me in a rear naked choke, and I'm going to do that same move. And he tried it, and he couldn't get out of it at all. Like, it was just impossible. The guy had already picked him up off balance, had him leaning back. I mean, there was no way for him to get the leverage to do that stupid shit.
It's a bad scenario to be in. Like, first of all, like, nothing's guaranteed to work, especially like if it's some random person, like, you don't know who it is. They could know what they're doing, or maybe they don't. But like, you definitely don't want to just like ignore the choke and try to elbow them in the hip.
Fuck no.
Like, you know what I mean?
Fucking work. Like, okay, perfect example. Steven Seagal, Gene LaBelle story. the story where Steven Seagal's like, I can get out of any rear naked choke. Gene LeBell puts him in a rear naked choke, tries to hit him in the nuts, and he still goes to sleep. Like, he doesn't work.
No, yeah, he did. He hit Gene LeBell in the nuts, and Gene LeBell's like, oh, okay, well then, he just tightened the choke, and Steven Seagal went to sleep and peed his gi.
Peed his pants. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Bad shit happens sometimes. You're not always going to be prepared. So, you know, you could have a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You could be a world-class kickboxer. Yada, 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 you're still a human being. And if somebody puts you in a rear naked choke, you know what? You're not going to necessarily be prepared at all times to do that. Sometimes you're just going to fucking go to sleep and bad shit's going to happen. Somebody pulls a gun on you and, you know, it's okay to be scared and not know what to do. It's okay. It's you know, it's okay to get choked out too if somebody just comes up and does that to you. It's not okay, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a bitch for not knowing how to get out of it. Shit happens. You know, you can get caught, you can get hurt, you can get, and this world is a very scary place. So for these motherfuckers to come on YouTube and telling you this is a foolproof fucking way to get through to, or there's a foolproof way to train your body to defend yourself against a fucking knife, a fucking gun, a fucking rear naked choke from fucking behind. Are you kidding me? No, dude. Like, someone pulls a gun on you. Have you ever had a gun pulled on you? You don't know what you're going to react like. You don't know how you're going to react. Somebody pulls a knife on you, start stabbing you repeatedly. You're not going to be able to defend it. I don't care if you've had 50 professional fucking fights. You're not necessarily going to know how to defend against that. There was just a story probably about a year ago of a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy in Brazil trying to fight off this fucking guy with a gun, trying to rob a train, got shot in the head, or a bus, right? Trying to rob a bus, got shot in the head and died.
Yeah,
you
know? I remember that.
It doesn't work like that.
When people talk about things, like I hate when trainers say, "Oh yeah, this is a foolproof thing. This is definitely going to work. This is, if you get this, he's done," or something like that. Right. No, that's not how the real world works. Like in movies, there's this illusion of control. Like a martial artist, you know, like they pull the gun and then all of a sudden they have complete control of the scenario. That's not how the real world works. Exactly. Or they just have the person down and they just kind of you know what I mean, like
right.
The world is chaos and you're never in control. You always risk either like going too far, right. and hurting the person, or getting seriously hurt or injured yourself. Like there's so yeah, to anyone who tells you that like, oh, this is a foolproof method, is doing you disservice. The best
and to anyone that would do that's on YouTube doing that stuff, fuck you.
Yeah, for real. Because that stuff, thinking that you have an answer and then you don't can get you killed.
And you're going to fucking cause a lot of problems for other people, and they're going to get hurt or killed, and they're going to believe your bullshit. So fuck you, you fake fucking martial arts people.
Yeah. And the person who did this video, her name is Gabrielle Rubin. Someone reached out to her from an MMA site and just said, "Hey, this was a colossally bad video. How do you deal with the responses?" And she was just like, trying to kind of defend it and saying she actually wants the video taken down. Apparently, she asked Business Insider to take it down. It's not down. It's still up right now. But
what's her resume?
She's taken a bunch of like traditional martial artists like karate, martial arts rather, like karate, I think Gaijo Ryu karate, like Japanese jiu-jitsu, she teaches like 2-hour seminars for women, and I'm sure the women leave feeling empowered, and maybe some of the advice she has about just avoiding scenarios altogether is good. But I don't know, because in this video she's like, "Oh, if you wear heels, you don't have to run." No, you absolutely should run. Like, running should be your first option. Like getting out of the situation safely is always the best option. So
she wanted to get this video taken down, right?
She did.
But if nobody would have confronted her about it, would she have fucking left it up?
Yeah, probably.
So she's not taking it down because she knows it's bullshit. She's taking it down because of the heat she's getting, right?
I mean, she probably feels bad about it now because she realizes like what she's teaching is stupid. But
that's the only way, man. If people see that kind of shit, they need to expose it, man. I mean, that's why I love these like bullshito websites and all that stuff. They need to expose this bullshit. It's not okay for people to be running around fucking making profit off this shit. I mean, there's so many fakes out there that are trying to teach you. I mean, there's so many fake-ass martial arts, this fucking chi shit, all this bullshit, man. It's going to kill people, dude. And there's probably people that have been hurt and killed. I remember my dad telling me a story about this guy that he was a street fighter, and he was just a real tough dude, real punchy, but real tough dude. And he said, he told my dad, he's like, you don't know how many fucking black belts I've beat the shit out of. I beat the fucking shit out of.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, how many black belts I've beaten up? And this is back in, like, you know, the 80s, 70s, and 80s, before, like, MMA was a thing. But he was like, you know how many karate black belts I've beaten up? I can't even fucking count. Because these motherfuckers think they're tough, and they go to these classes, and they, you know, probably never sparred in their life, or if they had sparred, it was point sparring, never gotten really hurt, never been in an altercation. And they're facing this guy that fights regularly, probably has never taken a martial arts class, but fucking so what? Knows how to fight, knows combat. Probably is one of the guys that takes sand and throws it in your eyes or kicks you in the balls, and you don't think about that kind of stuff, and they get their ass beat because they think they're a tough guy. They got this belt. I had a coach tell me one time the only thing the belt does is keep your pants from falling down. That doesn't mean shit. It's like, you come in here, think like a white belt, regardless of your rank. Always be open to learn. Always be humble. All that stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, one thing that you have to do if you're going to be prepared for an actual altercation is get into something resembling an altercation. It has to be unscripted. Like, you have to have some simulation of reality. And when you do that, first thing you realize is, anyone throws an overhand right and times it correctly. Anyone who just swinging haymakers, they could very easily knock me out.
Right.
Barely. All it takes is just, like, they just have to catch me. You know what I mean? Like all the martial arts knowledge in the world doesn't mean anything clean in the job.
Right.
When you're not looking, or, like, you know, so that's why this illusion of control is bullshit. Right. And that's part of it's dangerous.
Exactly. All right. So next,
back from that extended rant.
Seems like we got another
here's some real martial artists. Here's some real martial artists: Charles Oliveira and Paul Felder.
I'm gonna go with my boy Paul Felder on that one.
Man, me too. And I cannot wait, because this is an awesome fight. The clinch is gonna be amazing. Talk about real martial artists who know how to, like, throw elbows.
Yeah.
Both these guys do, and just Paul Felder.
Yeah. This is gonna be amazing.
All right, so moving on.
What?
It's gonna be amazing, right? This is fantastic fight.
Did you say moving on?
Yeah, moving on to the main card. Tisha Torres versus Michelle Waterson.
Ooh. That's tough. I'm going to go with... shit. I don't know.
This is a sleeper fight, man. This is a fight
tough.
No one's really talking about. It's a pretty good fight.
It's going to be a great fight.
And it's got title implications.
Yeah. They both lost to Rose, right?
Yeah.
So,
but Tisha Torres has also beaten Rose.
She has beaten Rose. Okay.
In the past, they're 1-1.
Right. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Karate Hottie, man. I'm gonna have to go with her, but I want Tisha to win, man. She doesn't really get a lot of recognition. Michelle Waterson, you know, the whole thing when she came to the UFC, they really pushed her a lot to kind of be a fan favorite, which is understandable. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Karate Hottie on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Tisha Torres. And with this fight, I mean, it's a close fight. Like, it could be gonna be
they're
fantastic.
both karate chicks, right?
So they're both what?
Karate girls, right?
Yeah, they both come from backgrounds. Teacher Torres did karate as a teenager. Still has a lot of that. She throws a sidekick. And, of course, Michelle Watterson's the karate hottie.
Right.
So, yeah, every fight card, this has the potential to be the card of the year. Like, remember UFC 205 was awesome, and then UFC 206 came along, and, like, on paper, like, not as many people watched it, but it ended up being, like, even better, possibly.
Yeah.
This has that kind of potential. I mean, it's you've got every single fight on the main card has implications for the title picture,
right?
And they're all awesome fights, like just high level mixed martial arts.
Right. Yeah.
So the next one, I have no idea how this is this far down the card, but Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje.
It's gonna be.
How excited are you?
That's going to be the best fight on the card, I think, unless somebody gets knocked out first round.
Dude, well, so that's the caveat with this one. I don't know how excited to get because either guy could knock the other person out in like a matter of seconds. Like it could be if it does go any length of time though, it will be absolutely unbelievable.
I'm gonna go with Gaethje on this one.
Yeah, man, I'm going with Gaethje too because he should, like stylistically, like he should win, but I don't think it's gonna be easy for him. Like Justin Gaethje, his power is he has like attritive power, you know, like right. he hits hard, but it's more like the accumulation of punches. And then you get tired and he starts hitting you cleaner, and then he knocks you out.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly
18-0 Justin Gaethje. The crazy thing about him is like he gets into brawls in every single fight.
Yeah. Well, that's his mentality.
He would be the definition of like a technical brawler, like a Matt Brown style, get in your face. Except his style is he throws incredible, like powerful low kicks. And in like heavy uppercuts. He's also a phenomenal wrestler. Right. So yeah, man. And then Eddie Alvarez, both these guys get hurt and recover really fast. Like that's what makes this fight really interesting. It's like, both guys have gotten hurt before. Like you know they're both human, but they both have like this warrior spirit where like if there's like even a hope of them coming back into the fight, they do it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great fight. I've kind of been looking forward to this. It's been pumped up by purists like some of the other podcasts I listen to. They are two real tough dudes come forward. Justin Gaethje is one of those dudes that just comes forward, doesn't back up. It's a real tough guy. Yep, Justin Gaethje on that one. Yeah,
and the reason I'm picking Gaethje is partly the low kicks. I think that Eddie Alvarez can probably brawl with him, and also, I mean, like they both have crazy resilience, but Eddie Alvarez is a lot older and he's taken a lot more knockouts. So I'm gonna say it favors Eddie Alvarez, but man, I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight for Justin Gaethje. If he wins, it's gonna be by like second or third round knockout, and like it's going to be an insane fight.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
And I'm really. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I really want, like, if Justin Gaethje wins, man, like there are no bad fights at lightweight. I'm pretty convinced of this. Like the lightweight top 10, every single fight there is just an unbelievable matchup. Khabib Nurmagomedov is fighting Edson Barbosa next. At UFC 219.
Allegedly.
And like think of Gaethje versus
Barbosa.
Either one of those guys. It's a phenomenal fight.
It is, if it happens, allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, so the thing too is like the title picture is really crowded at lightweight.
Yeah,
because you have Khabib.
Let me ask you this: do you think Conor's obviously Conor beat Eddie, but would you consider Tony to be the real champ?
It's a confusing situation. I'm not gonna like go that far, but I mean, I think you can't argue he's done far more in this division.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, of the top 10 UFC lightweight fighters, Conor McGregor beat Dustin Poirier at featherweight.
Right.
He beat Eddie Alvarez. And he knocked both those guys out in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are both still hanging around the top 10, which means Conor McGregor's legit. Like, you think, oh, he got lucky. No, he didn't get lucky. He picked Eddie Alvarez apart the way no one else at lightweight has.
Oh yeah, I hate that shit. People always try to downplay Conor because he might not be the best grappler or something, but he's still like a really good fighter. Like he's obviously a great fighter. He knocked out fucking Jose Aldo. And people talk
Jose Aldo
that was just a lucky punch. Is like he still knocked him the fuck out. It doesn't matter if you're in a fight. If you're in a fight, you got to judge it by the contest. You can't judge it by somebody's skill level. Okay, Jose Aldo might be better in certain areas. He might be a better striker combined.
No,
right?
I don't think so.
Well, combined, like leg kicks. You know what I'm saying. He might be a harder hitter. Who knows? They didn't carry out the contest. But hold on. So
I could see you saying that.
Well, hold on. So let's say I'm just speaking hypothetically. Okay, maybe. But you can't judge whether or not somebody is a legitimate contender or champion or whatever based on somebody's skill level and practice or their knowledge. You have to base it on the contest. Who the fuck won the fight? Conor won the fight. He played by the rules. He knocked him the fuck out, and that's how that works.
Yeah, that is, man. Like, in terms of accomplishments, Conor is one of the most divisive figures because, like, you have people. Someone was saying like they don't put him in their top 10 pound for pound of all time list, and those are completely subjective.
Right.
And I guess I can kind of get it, but someone was like, "There's no way you can put him in a top 10 pound for pound list," and I think that's crazy too. That's because you clearly can if you want to. Like, it's really hard to stay.
Resume, yeah.
It's really hard to like stay objective and like stay like I'm have a balanced I think I have a balanced perspective on Conor McGregor. I enjoy him as a star. I enjoy his skill set, but I don't I'm not a fanboy. Right. I don't go crazy for Conor McGregor. I've been watching the sport since like 2011.
Yeah.
So I've been watching it as long as a lot of people have, but I've been watching it since long before he came along. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I hate the guy, but I'm not gonna say like I'm in love with him either. Like I'm in the middle. But man, like he won 2 UFC titles back to back, and he held them simultaneously. He's the first person to ever do that. So in terms of accomplishments, you got to put him up there. Only a couple other people have ever done that. No one else has ever done that. But only a couple people have ever held 2 UFC titles: BJ Penn, Randy Couture, Conor McGregor, and now, of course, George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
And all of those guys should be somewhere on or near a top 10 pound for pound list.
Right.
So, but yeah, so it's complicated for me because I would really love to see Conor McGregor fight any of these lightweights. I would love to see him fight Tony Ferguson. Love to see him fight Justin Gaethje. I'm really curious how he matches up with Khabib. I'm really curious how he matches up with even like Edson Barbosa.
It's we've
weird, seen the Dustin Poirier fight, but like, I mean, yeah.
He's kind of still a dark horse, man. I mean, you don't really know how good he's getting. I mean, we haven't seen him in so long. We tend to forget how good he is. Yeah. I mean, even when he fought Eddie, I mean, he hadn't fought for what? After the Aldo fight, he didn't fight for over a year, right? And then he came back and won the lightweight title? No, he fought Nate twice, right?
I mean, he's been staying active lately. Knocked out 3 gangsters in a bar recently.
Oh, yeah.
Slapped a Bellator official. So, I mean, he's been adding wins to his record, right?
Well, so what I'm saying is, like, after the Aldo fight, he fought Nate twice, and then how long was his layoff until he fought Eddie from then?
He turned around immediately. It was like 3 months later.
3 months, right? Okay, so it's really weird because then you start seeing people. I don't know, man. Every time I see him fight somebody, he's always seems to be the underdog. It's really interesting.
Conor?
Yeah.
So odds-wise, he's not, but I know what you're saying. People always expect him to get exposed or to lose, like every single fight. It seems like, and Mayweather it finally happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like he finally came up against a guy like whose skill set was just so much deeper.
That was a crazy fucking fight.
Even in that fight, yeah, man. Like he put up a bet, and again, like I know it's apples and oranges. Floyd Mayweather probably didn't train all that hard for this fight, but he still clipped him with like more shots than Manny Pacquiao. He brought the fight to him. You know what I mean? Like he didn't know how to pace himself for a boxing match. That much was clear. Once the 25 minutes ran up, he very quickly got tired. But he was in that fight. He was like present and landing punches right up until the 9th round or so. And I mean that's insane to me because Floyd Mayweather, and I know it's just that stylistic match I think too, but Floyd Mayweather is the best defensive fighter of this generation.
Yep.
You know?
Very good.
So, I mean, it's like people always find a reason to doubt Conor McGregor, but I don't think Jose Aldo would have done that well against Floyd Mayweather. I don't think he would have.
Oh, absolutely. Like, no, maybe it's completely different. Yeah, absolutely. It's you're
and Aldo might be a fundamentally better boxer than McGregor too, but just the way you apply the tools and the gifts you have.
Dude, there was back in the day there was people. There's supposed to be a boxing match between Anderson Silva and Roy Jones Jr. Alleged, like there were talks of it probably about 10.
That wouldn't have been competitive.
Years. Do what?
It would not have been competitive at any point in time.
No, not a boxing match.
Not a boxing match, man. I mean, see, that's the thing too. Like, I always wonder how boxers would do boxing, like in MMA gloves, in 4-ounce gloves. I always wondered this because, the
guard's different.
It's just, the guard is different. The defense is different. You can't just cover up.
Right.
So I mean, it makes things really interesting.
It would probably be a lot of head movement and a lot of pairing. Probably a lot of blocking on the side, like Quentin does. Quentin Jackson. He and Tito does it too. But they pull their elbows, like their whole arm up to their ear, and they kind of block with their bicep and their forearm, and it kind of covers the side of their head. But
Gagey does that too.
Yeah. So
Gagey does that really well.
Yeah, so that might be that probably that, man. I would love to see that, man. But like it almost bring it back to the like the antiquity of boxing, just more of a bare knuckle style.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like if you threw, I would love just like wrestling and boxing, nothing else. Just like a Sanchow boxing fight with MMA gloves.
Oh, that would be beautiful. I've always wanted to see that because it's such a good style. Just old school. Technically, that's old school pugilism. Is grappling.
Yeah.
With like a one side leg kick and clinching. Of course, there was gouging and biting and stuff too back in the day. So, but anyway, that's part of fighting.
Good point. So speaking of wrestle boxers, Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. Oh, hold on. We never finished our lightweight discussion.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Do I regard Conor McGregor as the champion? Yeah, but at some point, like, he's got to actually fight someone, right? Like, how long can you stay in this gray area where he's not fighting anyone? And he also, by the way, he needs to get a fight. Like, the UFC has got to give him whatever he wants. The issue right now is that they're not giving him what he wants. They're not giving him his equity. Like he has some demands, and the reason these negotiations are going to be so difficult is he has all of the leverage. He has no reason to step into the octagon in the next like 5 years, if ever. Like if he's actually smarter with his money than he appears, which I don't know if he is or not. But there's no reason for him to ever have to fight again, financially.
I mean, he's got so many endorsement deals. He's got sponsorships. He's doing different. Media appearances, movies. He was in a video game.
He's actually not a half bad actor. Like,
yes, he's a clothing brand.
The only reason. What's that?
It's a clothing brand. He's. I think he's.
Man.
Has scotch coming. Has his own signature scotch or something coming out.
I mean, as long as he doesn't get into trouble with the Irish mobsters, I
think he'll be fine.
And he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like if he could keep his life focused, there's no reason for him to come back into fighting. The only reason is like he kind of, I think, needs something to focus on. He needs that short-term goal, and I think for that reason, like the UFC need to book him a fight for both his and their own sake. Right. But they've got to meet his demands because he has all the leverage. Like he's there besides George St. Pierre, who could once again walk up into the sunset. He's their only guy who draws in the money. So
yeah,
they've never been in that scenario before where a fighter is literally bigger than the sport. And it makes me happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone finally did it. They got to the point where they don't need the UFC and the UFC does need them. But like, yeah, man, they've got to give him what he wants. Otherwise he's going to keep getting into trouble, man. He's going to keep getting into bar fights and slapping Bellator officials and all this energy that's not focused anywhere.
Yeah, Conor McGregor's a gangsta.
He thinks he is.
He thinks he will. We're about to find out if he really is.
Yeah.
Hey, let's keep going with these. We could talk about Conor McGregor all fucking day.
I know, man. So Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis.
I'm gonna go with Cejudo on this one.
Oh, by the way, how excited were you for Alvarez Gagey?
8.
8 out of 10. That's pretty good, man. I would say 10 out of 10. But
I'm one of those guys that don't give people like hundreds. Like I'm that kind of instructor. Like you give them like a 98, but you never give out 100. So I'm never going to give you a 10.
I hate those instructors. But at the same time, I kind of empathize because I'm going to say 9 out of 10 for the sole reason that like there's a very high possibility, like maybe 20%, maybe 30%, that Eddie Alvarez knocks Justin Gaethje out really quickly, and I don't want to see that because I'm a huge Justin Gaethje fan.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
for
say
that
8.
reason, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10. So.
There you go. That's better. All right, Henry Cejudo, Sergio Pettis. Who do you got?
This is the fight I'm most confident about. I don't think Sergio Pettis beats Henry Cejudo in any possible world, besides like Bizarro world.
Or karate contest or some shit like that. Taekwondo contest.
Oh, yeah. In any MMA fight, I don't think he beats him.
No. Henry Cejudo coming off a win against Wilson Hayes, knocking him the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah, and like all he has to do, someone was saying, the Heavy Hands podcast was talking about this fight, and Patrick Wyman was saying like, even if they were just to kickbox, Henry Cejudo would still beat him, which I think is possible. Like I think he's probably right, just because he has a lot more power, and if he gets into the pocket, his boxing is better, and he's the exact stylistic matchup to give Sergio Pettis nightmare. But
true.
He doesn't even like all he has to do is take down Sergio once in each round, which is honestly it's not that hard to do. Like he can catch a kick, he can shoot in.
True.
Like there's
and his wrestling pedigree is ridiculous.
He's an Olympic gold medal wrestler, and Sergio Pettis barely won his last fight, even though he was way superior. He was far superior to the guy he was fighting, because he got taken down twice.
Right.
In a 5-round fight, he got taken down twice. So like and just held down. And so I mean like the odds are like 99-1 in my mind against Sergio Pettis.
I'm gonna give this a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it like a 5 just because I feel like the outcome is all but predetermined unless Sergio Pettis does something crazy,
like kicks him in the head.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all it would take, right? Theoretically.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Alistair Overeem versus.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the same thing.
Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou.
Francis.
And how excited are you?
Yeah, 4.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not really a big Alistair fan.
I'm not either, but I would say like I would say like a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
Because I love Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
He came from literally nothing, man. Like the African village he was born in Cameroon.
He's from where Ethan's from. You remember Ethan from school?
Yeah. A mutual friend of ours is from Cameroon.
Yeah.
But like Francis Ngannou was what his village was called like the Sand Village, like because their main export was sand. So I mean,
what?
Yeah, like he
People
worked in like a
sand
mine.
Like that?
Yeah, just scooping and bagging sand, and like that's what he did as a child. Child labor, always a good thing.
Wow.
And then he moved to a bigger city and like worked in like a garment factory or something like that. Late capitalism is a fantastic system for the third world. But
let's talk about that in the podcast. But anyways, keep going.
He moved to France with like no money and was homeless, and his strategy was to walk around Paris and find the nearest boxing gym because he wanted to be a professional boxer, and ask them if they had like say he has no money, he's homeless, but he wants to fight. And I mean, like that wouldn't work for anyone else, but if you're Francis Ngannou, who's like, what is he? I think he cuts to 265.
Yeah,
maybe not.
He
right.
doesn't cut. He walks around like 253.
He's right. Okay, at 253,
6'5".
then it doesn't take you long to find someone to take you in. So basically, he got people he got gyms to take him in, and like give him gear and a place to stay.
Yeah.
And like, man, that's a story. A, that's a story I can get behind. And B, like he's a phenomenal talent. He's only been fighting for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So he's still picking up things really quickly. Alistair Overeem's on the other end of that like sliding scale where he's been around forever and ever. He has a lot of skill.
Right.
But I mean, he's past his physical prime. So it's a classic kind of matchup. And I actually think it's tougher for Francis Ngannou than I thought initially. Like I just thought like all he has to do is touch Overeem on the chin and Overeem goes to sleep. That's possibly true, but Overeem's just been fighting so much longer. I'm still gonna go with Francis Ngannou by knockout, but it could be one of those fights where he gets like the point he's at kind of gets exposed, like his lack of depth. So we'll see.
I'm gonna go with Ngannou.
Excited.
On that one.
Yeah, man. I want him to win. I think he will. And if he does, he's the next title challenger. No question.
Absolutely.
That'll give
way,
Go ahead.
Jose Aldo, Max Holloway. What do you got?
Oh, man. So, Max Holloway, by knockout. And I'm pretty excited for this. Even though I've seen it before, I feel like the first fight was pretty damn awesome.
Right.
And this one's, I'm going to say an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because this is just about as high level a fight as you can get in terms of skill. The difference is Max Holloway just fights at a higher pace. But, man, Max Holloway has never been knocked out. He has an incredible chin. But Jose Aldo has, like, eye-opening power. You know what I mean? Like, he can still put you to sleep if he connects right.
Right.
And, I mean, that's one of the things that makes this exciting for me. The other thing is, man, like, Max Holloway has never been a boring fight. Right. So, like, this is an awesome fight. I'm 100% here for this.
I'm gonna give this one a 4, just because I was really excited about Frankie Edgar, and I was really disappointed. And Jose Aldo, I've stopped really. I can't take him as seriously anymore from that stupid fucking movie on Netflix of his.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, have you seen that
yet? You let that ruin it for you.
Huh?
No, I have not seen it, but you let that ruin it for you.
Ruined it, dude. Like, it was the biggest, like, melodrama I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was completely just, like, I'm sure there are parts that are true, but it was like a giant soap opera. You could tell it was all a lot of it was fabricated. He was like this dude in the doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then the really good-looking guy gets the girl, and he's like a bully to Jose, and Jose's like, oh, I'm, and he becomes, yeah, fuck, no, I'm good. Ruined it. And then the guy playing him was like this like supermodel. It was just too much.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, okay.
Yeah, too much.
Well, hey man, maybe they loved it in Brazil.
Of course. Well, it was like that style, like that Brazilian style of film, very emotionally driven.
All right, Colby Covington.
Hey man, I didn't say anything bad about Brazil. I didn't say they're filthy animals. I'm just saying they're like kind of like if you watch like the Mexican soap operas. It's a lot of crying, a lot of hitting, a lot of shit like that.
So, I mean, yeah. When I was in India, it's just I don't think it's everything that comes out of Brazil, but there is a genre of movies that I think that like I don't know. It's just like maybe either not as far along or they're entertained by different things. It's just a cultural difference,
right?
Because I mean, and I could see that because when I was in India, it was similar but different. What it was just over the top. Like everything was over the top in like their action movies. Have you ever seen like a Bollywood action movie?
Oh yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I wanna go over the featherweight division for a little bit, and I'm just gonna kind of monologue with like the state of the featherweight division, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So, Ho Choi versus Jeremy Stephens got announced.
Yeah.
It got announced last night
on social media about that.
Yeah. It's a perfect fight, like in every way. And there's a lot of fights coming up that I'm excited about. This has to be right near the top, like of all the fights they've gotten booked. Ho Choi is the Korean Superboy, and he's been out since his fight of the year with Cub Swanson in 2016, around this time of year at UFC 206. Mm-hmm. So seeing him back in action is going to be awesome. Jeremy Stephens has an incredible chin. He hasn't gotten knocked out since 2012 when he fought Eve Edwards. Right. So this is a fight that Ho Choi has got to show whether or not he's grown, basically, since the Swanson fight. In my mind, this is that kind of booking where, it's going to be stylistic fireworks. Because Ho Choi, his first three UFC fights were first-round knockouts. He just knocked everyone out in the first round. And he has the capability to do that. Jeremy Stephens can knock you out, but he actually mostly wins decisions. But he does have heavy hands and an excellent chin, and he'll brawl with you. Yeah. So it's an amazing fight. Ho Choi is going to have to show that he's grown. If he beats someone like Jeremy Stephens, it puts him instantly in the top 10, like a win or two away from the title picture. And I would love to see, like, Ho Choi's 26. If he continues to improve from fight to fight and, like, he shows kind of that he's got his defense gets a little bit better, I think he's a hard fight for Max Holloway. Right. I really do. Like, I think he's a tough stylistic matchup. And he's only 26, man. So I'm really excited about that fight. I'm gonna pick Ho Choi in that fight, but with the caveat that like Jeremy Stephens is really good, and I'm kind of picking him based on the fact that I think he's improved, or I think he will have improved because he's still very young. But man, it's a really awesome fight. Jeremy Stephens like decimated Gilbert Melendez's leg with like really like low calf kicks in his last fight. Yeah, and it's just like one of those things. It's an awesome matchup. So I mean, like featherweight has some prospects coming up. You mentioned that like you're missing that he wanted Frankie Edgar to fight Max Holloway. I still want to see that fight. You also got Brian Ortega fighting Cub Swanson the week after. We'll talk about that when it gets here. Last week we had Zabit Magomedsharipov beat Shaman Moraes, who's a UFC newcomer, but he's also like a World Series. He's been around for a long time. He fought in World Series of Fighting. I think he was their. I think he was either their bantamweight champion or he fought their bantamweight champion. But he's really good, and Zabit just destroyed him. So in a way that you're like, okay, this guy is destined for the top 10. So that honestly, he wants to fight Yair Rodriguez next. That's a great fight. So there's a couple guys coming up that like are really good matchups for Max Holloway, and I'm excited about the featherweight division. The Korean Zombie's still hanging around.
Absolutely.
He's also been out with injury, but yeah, it's I'm excited to see where the division goes. Yeah, so
just a side note real quick.
Yeah.
You ever notice how like cats instinctively know jiu-jitsu? Ever tell you about that?
Yeah, man. Cats know jiu-jitsu because like they do jiu-jitsu from when they're kittens.
What they're really good at is getting butterfly guard and flipping the other cat over their body and getting on top. I've noticed that a lot. It's pretty cool.
Are you watching cat videos right now?
No, I was just thinking about it because my dog is trying to wrestle me, and I'm just like, you need to take a class, dog. Take a class from some cats. You know what you're doing.
Dog's version of jiu-jitsu is like to flop on their backs and surrender.
Well, this dog's version of jiu-jitsu is getting my face and licking me for some reason.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty common canine variant of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Right in my face. All right, man. Well.
So the other thing we've got that's going to be on this episode is my interview with the Notorious director, the director of the documentary Notorious, Gavin Fitzgerald, and I had a 15-minute interview with him. It was really interesting. The audio quality is absolutely horrible. It's kind of out of my control. But hey, if you can stomach it, let's do it. I'm also going to write up an article about it based on the transcript. But he had some interesting things to say about filming Conor McGregor from even before he got into the UFC. So he's kind of been along for this really wild ride, and he had some really really great insight into Conor McGregor. And the documentary is fantastic.
Right on.
It's really good. And it's out now, Notorious. So, got a chance to talk with him. So we're gonna dive into that interview now. And thank you for listening to the MMA Outsiders.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah.
So, AJ, where can the people find you?
I'm on Instagram, AJ Herrick. Usually I spell it lowercase AJAYHERRICK. You can find me on Twitter at the same handle. Facebook, find me. I'm the dude with the guitar. Just shoot me a message. Shoot me a friend request. Whatever you guys want. Andrew, where can they find you?
I am on Facebook and Twitter at Vorpality, VORPALITY. And of course, you can read my articles on MMA Mania. I write the Midnight Mania series, so that, as you may be able to tell, that comes out at midnight every weeknight. And then I also I write a couple pieces on the weekend, and I recap a lot of the UFC on Fox and Fight Night cards live as they happen. So once again, thanks for listening to MMA Outsiders. Stick around for my interview with Gavin, and check us out next week. We may be recording these on Friday moving forward.
Yes.
So a couple things have changed in the schedule. We'll see. We're going to see how it goes. Just keep an eye on follow the MMA Mania YouTube page, and subscribe to the MMA Mania feed on iTunes, and Stitcher, Google Play, and it's hosted on SoundCloud. So, all right, y'all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy UFC 218.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
So Gavin, tell me a little bit about yourself. Give an introduction to who you are, and then we'll get started with the interview.
Yeah, sure. My name's Gavin Fitzgerald. I'm from Dublin in Ireland, and I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I directed the Conor McGregor movie Notorious, which is out at the moment on iTunes, Amazon, was in the cinema. It's out on digital download now.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about how you got started with this project. Some of the some of the footage you guys have is from really early on, before Conor joined the UFC, back before he had any money. How did you get started with this, and did you have any idea it was going to be this important?
Yeah, so I got started on it back in 2012. So Conor was fighting on local shows back then, but I went up to SBG and the Long Mile Road where he trained, and with very little knowledge, to be honest, of what even mixed martial arts was. And there were all these fighters up in the gym who were basically beating each other up in this dingy little room. They included people like Cathal Pendred and Paddy Houlihan and Artem Lobov, and of course Conor McGregor, who caught my eye, and he was a skinhead back then. And yeah, you know, we he was kind of looking at us and wondering when we're gonna interview him. He said he just so we did, and you know, the first interview we ever did with Conor, he just comes across as totally unique and something a guy I'd never really, like someone I'd never really met before. We were asking him how he got into martial arts and stuff like this, and he was talking about watching gorillas on the Nature Channel and observing their movements. So, you know, he was immediately captivating, and he just has this incredibly infectious self-belief that just makes you want to follow him. So we had, you know, a bunch of this old footage, and we had an idea to do a documentary about him, which we did for Irish broadcaster, and then we followed that up with a series about him, and then after that we focused on making this movie. So it's been ultimately like a 4 to 5 year long project.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, you had a lot of footage to work with. How did you go about kind of making a cohesive storyline out of all that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, well, first of all, we had I would say a fan base from people who'd watched the series on OTV, Irish broadcaster. So we wanted to not use any of that footage and just, you know, tell a fresh story. So, you know, it started off probably being the story of how he became champion and fighting Jose Aldo, but of course, as you know, he went to fight him, and then that fight was called off, and he fought Chad Mendes instead, and then fought Jose, and then he lost to Nate, and the story just kept changing. So one of the challenges was that he was actively fighting and making headlines all the while we were kind of editing and constructing the story. So it was tricky in that regard, but you know, I suppose we just wanted to make a film, a fight film about him, and where we learn as much as we can about Conor, and also we see a development. You know, I mean, I think you really see a lot of change in him. Even his body changes so much over the 4 years of following him. You know, he starts off a kind of scrawnier looking guy with no tattoos, and he's covered in ink and screaming gorillas and covered in money. So it's a crazy story, and it all happened ultimately in a very short period of time when you think about it, from someone who's nobody knew to everybody knows.
Yeah, that has to be just an absolute roller coaster of a ride, right? I mean, I remember just hearing about him when he came into the UFC. I'm like, oh, who's this Irish kid? You know, and just from the outside, you're looking in, you're wondering, is he going to be able to make good on all these promises he's making? He's talking this huge game, and then he backed it up. You know, he became this historic figure, biggest star in MMA history. What were some of the biggest, like, holy shit moments, like, during the process of filming?
Well, I suppose, yeah, I mean, because he was always telling me, you know, I'm the best, and he'd look at you in the eye, and you just feel like, God, he really believes it, and you really think he's going to beat Jose Aldo, even though he hasn't even fought, you know, he only had one win in the UFC back then, you know. And you're thinking, that's crazy. You can't talk about Jose Aldo. I mean, he's unbeaten in 10 years. You can't just go beat the guy. And then, I don't know, I think along the way, along his climb up the ranks in the 145 division, I just kind of, there was a point where I stopped doubting him and I was like, yeah, he's going to beat Jose. So yeah, and then he beats him in 13 seconds. So
Well, he called his shot.
Yeah. I mean, you can see in the film where he's telling us this. It's crazy. It's crazy to think, you know. So I think Dana said, like, I stopped doubting that kid a long time ago. I kind of feel the same. Yeah, I mean, his life's a bit like a movie, you know. So it's full of holy shit moments.
Yeah, it's got to be really wild. I mean, he called that. He said he's going to throw a 1-2 as he moves forward. I'm going to step back, hit him with the left hand, and it'll be over. And it was exactly how it went down.
Even like when you look at that, like that fight, just because I've analyzed it so many times, and just even the body movement before they go into fight. Yeah, I think it's a big John McCarthy's calling them apart, and how they're kind of glued to the cage, and Conor's like trying to take every step forward he can. There's just so much you can actually delve into in that 13 seconds. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it has been delved into many times. Another really cool moment for me was seeing when the opponent first switched out to Chad Mendes, and he woke up from his nap and he came out, and they're like, "Yeah, man, you can choose a different date," and he's like, "Okay, I can fight then, but I also want to fight in like 2 weeks' time." It was like, you know, you heard John Kavanagh talk about that moment, but just seeing it live, you know, like seeing the raw footage was unbelievable. Conor's always in the news. Recently, he's been in the news for some stuff that happened outside the cage. He's been in the news for that Bellator 187 kind of run-in, slapped an official, kind of got in the referee's face a bit, and then even more recently is alleged to have been in a barroom fight with a mobster. Now, what are your thoughts on kind of like what's been happening recently with Conor? Is this just something celebrities go through? Early on in the documentary, Conor talked about he needs training every day to keep him grounded. Is this something we're seeing? I mean, is it something we're seeing from a lack of focus? Like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate. Like he's making, you know, the bad press headlines at the moment, just in conjunction with the film. I guess he's probably going through something. But you know, I think Dana made a good comment about in an interview he did about Conor and or you know, him waking up with the $100 million in his bank account and, you know, finding that drive to fight again. You know, I guess that's unprecedented. You know, like he went into this game for a knock and a few quid, as he said, and now he's absolutely loaded. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I just hope it doesn't kind of get any worse. You know, I don't know much about anything more than anyone else about recent events or whatever, but I just hope he kind of gets his focus back. I think the best thing for him is fighting. You know, I think at the moment he's only 29 and he has a lot to prove. You know, a lot of records to break still. I mean, let's not forget that, you know, he's already won 2 belts. He could even win a third. You know, so there's so much he can achieve still, and I'm sure he will. I think he'll win the fans back because he has some of that to do. I think he has a lot of people who are turning. You know, so I think he needs to win them back, and the best way for him to do it is to get back fighting and yeah, become focused again.
Now, he's had breaks from fighting before, most notably when he tore his ACL when he was 2 fights into his UFC contract. Just you know, kind of the documentary had a lot to cover, obviously, so it kind of skipped past that part. But was he during that time, you know, how does he deal with not having an immediate fight, like an immediate goal in his future, or was the, you know, rehabbing from the knee, was that a sufficient goal?
Yeah, I think you know, back then there weren't as many cameras around him, you know. Like his stardom now is out of control. Like people are just, especially in Ireland, I mean, like he can't go anywhere without everyone knowing about it. So, I mean, I think he might have went through maybe a dark period after his first ACL surgery as well. But he like you said, he found his focus, focused on recovering and came back to man, came back better from ever. And like an ACL can really end some people's career, So I think the best thing for him is to get a goal in mind and get a fight lined up, I think.
Absolutely. Now, having been around him a lot, when the camera's on, when the cameras are off. Conor McGregor's he's a fascinating person because there's so many sides to him. You have the analyst that comes out after the fights, win or lose. You have the pre-fight Conor McGregor. How much of what McGregor does is for the cameras, and how much of it is like how different is he when the camera's turned off? Like how much of it is what's he like when there's no cameras on him?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, like we kind of, that was one of the goals of the film, is to kind of show what he's like behind the press conferences, and we see him at a lot of times when he's all hyped up, and we wanted to strip it back a bit and show the more kind of human side to him. But he is a really, really positive dude, and he just he just has this really strong mind frame, and he talks about fighting a lot. That's how he is. Of course, he can get sick of the camera sometimes, and just kind of go off by himself and to disappear into his room for a few hours or whatever else. But and maybe that's a sign of him being tired. But besides that, I have incredible energy usually. I think like energy, like I can fill a room. He just has this aura about him, and it's not really putting anything on. It's all part of his makeup. I don't think when he goes into a press conference that he writes down a single thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't plan anything. It's just all off the cuff. This gift the gab he has. He just comes out with some gold every time. He just needs to shine in front of the lights.
He really does. So you're saying he doesn't script any of this out at all?
No, I mean sometimes, like, you might have conversations with us or some other people, and you might hear the same conversation come out in the press conference, which is interesting. But they're not coming from he's not like hiding material and writing it down like a comedian. It's just he just has this natural ability, and that's the truth, because I've been around him long enough to know. So I even asked him one time, I was like, did you write anything down? Like, I mean, where do you get this stuff? And he's like, no, not at all. So it's pretty unusual,
That's crazy. That's awesome. So one thing that Dana mentioned in that same kind of scrum he had yesterday was that McGregor, has a lot of people around him. Anytime someone gets this famous, they're going to have a lot of people kind of around them. And one of the cool things about the documentary was you saw some really supportive people around him. People like his girlfriend, Dee Devlin. Are there other people around him that maybe aren't as healthy for Conor?
That aren't helping him?
Oh, I was saying, are there people around him that aren't as good for him?
Right,
people
yeah.
that are in his life.
Hey, just to let you guys know, we only have a couple minutes left, so if you want to maybe ask your last question, Andrew.
All right, absolutely.
Will I finish this one, or will I?
Yeah.
Oh, no, just that. I mean, I think they all everyone there is a role in the camp, but like, I suppose, like, the more and more money allowed for a bigger team. So you have now like nutritionists and fitness staff and pads and sparring partners and everything. So I mean, they all have a role there, but it has become the sort of classic entourage, I suppose. But they're all great, to be honest. The team have always been so open with us, and couldn't say a bad word about them, to be honest.
Awesome. That's one of his big things. And then I guess my one last question would be, what was really the most poignant or memorable moment for you directing this film?
Yeah, I suppose just I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and I was actually at Terminator 3 the night before he dropped into the Mac Mansion. So that was definitely a pinch me moment where you actually get to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's
that was
a cool guy. Yeah, and he's just an actual genuinely cool dude. Like, you know, he's just deep voice, and he's really chill, and he's no problem with this film and the conversations and stuff like that. So yeah, he's as big of a legend as I thought he was.
That is awesome. I mean, just that when he dropped the "I'll be back" moment. That was crazy. Yeah, you're just like Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin, thank you so much for doing this interview. Notorious is out now. It's a fantastic documentary, and give it a listen, give it a watch.
Thanks,
Great.
man,
Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gavin. Good luck to you.
All right.